of time, and the House of Representatives recently suspended the former chairman of its appropriation committee, Abdulmumin Jibril, for 180 legislative sitting days.
Now, this was after the consideration of the report of the Ethics and Privileges Committee mandated to probe alleged breach of the House and members' privileges.
Sitting, the chairman, House Committee on Ethics and Privileges, led the report of an investigation carried out on the alleged breach of members' privileges and that of the House. But the House first carried out its legislative business of the day, leaving the consideration of that report for the last. Then, the committee gave an insight into the assignment it was given and concluded Jibril breached members' privileges and dragged the reputation of the House as an institution in the mud.
From the totality of the evidence before the committee arrived at the following findings, and that Honorable Jibril made the various press statements from 1 to 6 issues attributed to him in the motion referred to the committee. 2, the committee found that those statements were broad sweeping without proof. Consequently, the committee views those statements as injurious, scandalous, and denigrating to the House as an institution.
When the consideration of the report began, members overwhelmingly voted in support of the committee's recommendation.
5.02, 5.03, 5.04.
At the end of the exercise, the Deputy Speaker summarized its outcome.
Breach of the practices, precedents, and usage of the House of Representatives and sundry acts of misconduct against the members and institutions of the House of Representatives and National Assembly, and breach of the provisions of the Legislative Houses, Powers and Privileges Act, Chapter L12, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and approved recommendation 1 to 4 of the report.
I rise to move that this House do adopt the report from the Committee of the Whole. I so move.
Apart from not representing his constituency over the next 6 months, Jibril was banned from holding any position of responsibility throughout the lifespan of the 8th House of Representatives. He is to also tender a written apology to the House upon the expiration of his suspension before he can be admitted into the House. Jokea Disa, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, we're now joined by Dr. Austin Weze, a lecturer at the Pan Atlantic University. It's good to have you join us, Doctor.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah.
Now, we've been following, all Nigerians have been very interested. In fact, if you go on social media and listen to reactions from Nigeria concerning the budget padding from when it started until now, it's really so interesting, but also very divergent. Now, when you follow the suspension and the fallout, the follow-ups until now, what really comes to your mind when you read the newspapers and you get to hear about the budget padding until today?
Well,
let me start from there.
Yes, well, it's quite unfortunate that, this kind of thing is, just like the former American president said that when you tell the people the truth, the nation is safe. But invariably, they don't want the nation, Nigeria, to be safe. That's why they're not hiding the truth. And if any whistleblower tries to tell, they try to, suppress such information. And, the budget padding did not start today. He's been with us for a very long time. But it's good that it's coming to the fore, and we need to do, because I've been advocating for a change in our budgeting process, because it's faulty, and for a nation like Nigeria, when we follow this, it encourages corruption. Our budgeting process encourages corruption. And you find that at the end by this time of the year, most ministries would have closed their books on some contract. Any money is left, they would just call one vendor and say, oh yeah, supply us this to make up, because they don't want to return money back to this thing. So, but that's why it's important to actually look at our budgeting process. And all these paddings, people don't actually know how much is going to, some of the the project they're going to carry out. They inflate it, they add so that they'll have some money to do some other things. So it's quite unfortunate. But again, with this kind of revelation about the padding, help us strengthen the institutions or the system, and just improve so that wastages will be mitigated, and enriching of pockets illegitimately could be also mitigated. That's the thing, and it gives me concern that even though we're doing this, but how far can we go from here? And that is just the thing. And for a change to come, you need a critical mass of positive-minded people, that those advocating for this change. It must have a critical mass.
All right.
If you don't have a critical mass, we're wasting our time about change. So this padding is something, it's an opportunity for us to get it right. But again, when you bring in politics to it, I don't know what hope we have.
Okay, is that why, because according to your revelation, quite a lot of them really, even beyond the budget padding, there are other revelations when it comes to some money being spent by the National Assembly, according to the whistleblower. Yeah. Why isn't the prosecutors, the EFCC for instance, taking that seriously? Is it because of the credibility of the whistleblower or the lack of it?
The whistleblower is just alone. He doesn't have the support of others because they're all guilty. What the man is saying, in my own personal opinion, I'm convinced that he's telling the truth. But because they're all involved, and it takes one man to bring out this kind of thing and start the change process. As far as I'm concerned, Jibril man is not wasting his time. He's bringing about a change in the system. And even if they're doing something inside, within, quietly, they might be thinking of, oh boy, let us amend, because this is...
Let's be careful.
Let's be careful.
A day of reckoning.
Yeah, a day of reckoning is coming. They have suspended the man, which I feel that, if you know the role of whistleblowers in any society, they play an important role. And the law should protect them. Actually, they should protect Jibril for saying that he's risking his life.
No, but it's being isolated instead.
But the bill, the whistleblower, the protection of whistleblower, the bill is still being put together. It hasn't been passed, so we don't have a law protecting whistleblowers in Nigeria.
Yes, but again, you can also make other. There's the issue of there's one. I've forgotten how they used to a situation whereby even though the law is not there, but you can also intervene to make temporary until you get the law to protect.
Is it a case of double standard? Because since in some of those prosecutions that you have, according to even to this, the latest one, the DSS says they got a petition, they got complaint from concerned public. Okay, they got complaint from concerned public. Even EFCC will receive petition, ICPC will receive petition to go after somebody. Catch my drift?
Yes, but the thing is this. Even when EFCC receive petition to go after somebody, there are preliminary investigations to be done whether this petition is genuine or not, before actually inviting the man and officially to do what they're supposed to do. But again, what capacity do they have to carry on all this? If any man quarrels with his wife, he reports to EFCC. And, sometimes I wonder how long, what kind of people, how many people they have to investigate. And
but we are not even privy to the level of investigation or how thorough those investigations were
with the
those
capacity
people
of the people. The capacity of the people handling this investigation. Do they know how to use technology? So the thing is this, the whole system is warped, unfortunately. And we need to begin to rebuild the foundation so that, it's not a selective kind of thing. There are a whole lot of things, that there are gaps here and there, and which those gaps would also, make the different institutions to be, really weak. And they won't carry out the job that they're supposed to carry out.
All right. Now, Abdulmumin Jibril has been suspended. He represents a constituency in Kano State. And for the period of his suspension, his constituency is not represented.
Yes.
What's the implication of that in the eyes of the law?
No, because one is this. Is he being paid for a while?
For those 180 days?
Yes. Now, the only thing I believe that if they could have asked, okay, they could suspend him, and then that constituency is not being represented, is to the disadvantage of the constituency, because there's nobody to say, okay, since our man is, let us send another person, unless the constituency now recalls the man. Okay, they are the ones that have the right to recall the man. The National Assembly, the House of Rep, does not have the right to really send them. They could suspend. I remember when one of my friends was in the State House of Assembly, and he kicked against having a common purse for the state and the local government, and he was suspended, and he never returned to the House, until the tenure elapsed. Which was but the guy now is in the House of Representatives. He came back a few years later maybe
this could play out in this case. Maybe he comes back after the 180 days. Another suspension is handed.
Exactly, and the man may not really be effective, contribute effectively. He'll be sidelined. It's like a leper. Everybody avoids because he's contagious, and other people may not want to. Oh boy, you're revealing our secret to the public. I thought we were some kind of together in this unholy trinity.
Comrades.
So these are the things that is going to play out. For as long as Jibril is that, but I don't know his staying power. If I were him, I keep fighting. One day, the masses, he'll get attention of the masses. He's already getting the attention of the masses because people are now being sympathizing with him, and if he can keep on doing this revelation, the masses will now say, okay, look, it would be a case of a Brazilian councillor some years ago. He was like a comedian. He contested the election, and his own focus, his own slogan is, vote me in, I'll tell you what the government is doing.
Whoa.
And he won, So, and he kept revealing whatever the government is, because there's so much mystery surrounding government. Yeah, exactly. Secrecy surrounding government. And the people will need to know what is going on in government. And Jibril is helping us to know exactly what is going on in government, So, remember also when the former governor of Central Banana, Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido, exposed that 25% of the budget goes to the National Assembly. And they hounded him and all that. And then what happened? At the end of the day, the man gave us information, and now we now began to ask, how much are you spending? Why are you spending so much? We began to ask questions. So these are these whistleblowers are important to society, so that, like the Brazilian comedian, they will tell us what is going on in government for us to react and how we are being governed.
Okay. We'll come back to ask if Nigerians are really ready, apart from listening and talking, if they're really ready to take action. We'll come back to this. Now, the House of Representatives says former chairman of its appropriation committee, Abdulmumin Jibril, cannot dictate to the ethics committee on how to go about investigating the allegations of budget padding against the leadership.
House spokesman Abdulrazak Namdas stated this while reacting to Jibril's resolve not to appear before the committee except its deliberations are made public. He also said the Speaker Yakubu Dogara will not appear before the committee since the House was investigating Jibril.
This House has rules. The committee will decide for the way to investigate this. It is not for Abdulmumin again to set agenda for this committee. This investigation is to do with the institution of the House of Representatives. It is not to do with the accused persons, please. Because the man has written petition to against the individual people. It's with the police and agencies. But this committee is dealing with what affects the House of Representatives as an institution. So, Mr. Speaker, if anybody is going to do any other investigation, it is already with agencies. We are talking about what affects House of Representatives as an institution.
There you go.
It's interesting because I don't agree with him.
Okay.
In the sense that, one is the House really ready to make a change in case, when you're having this kind of committee, you have to make up your mind from the outset.
Yeah.
Are we ready to make a change because of this issue at hand? If not, because the way he's talking, they're not ready. Because he's saying that the man is against the institution. Quite all right. But there are some criminal cases against the leadership, which has to be outside of the committee's purview, to invite the police, to begin to do their own investigation in all of this.
Justice Adeniyi Ademola made a ruling that perhaps what the internal affairs, the internal workings of the National Assembly should remain with the National Assembly. But that judgment didn't subsist.
No, but the thing is this. They did not carry out the act themselves. They were beneficiaries of the weak system. Okay? So you can't just hold them. They found a loophole. And they took advantage. Yes. So we need to begin to look at our institution, the system, the processes, the structures of our institutions, and see how we can plug whichever loophole. In the case of, sorry to go to America, this Donald Trump matter and all that, about tax. The man did not intentionally evade tax. It was a loophole that he took advantage of.
Oh, so that made him smart. That's what he's
so these people, Saraki and Kweremadu, they saw a loophole and they took advantage of it. So that was the judgment, was right, and the government was also right.
Is that not also the case here, where you have loopholes, or perhaps the ignorance of Nigerians not knowing what is happening, and the leadership are taking advantage of it?
Yes, advantage of it. And that's why, by Jibril making this known, it's left for the House to plug this loophole if they are not benefiting from it. Okay? Because one is this, like Machiavelli said, that those that benefit from a system will find it difficult to change. These are the ones that resist every change. Okay? So we need to, and this is the case in the House of Rep. You will find that majority of them are benefiting from the system. Jibrin is all alone, fighting this in a cause. But again, I will encourage him. He's not alone. Majority of Nigerians who understand what is going on and what is playing out in the House of Rep are also praying for him for that staying power to keep doing what he's doing. Because we need to deal with this situation. If we don't take care of the fundamentals, how can we move forward? We won't move forward.
All right, that brings us to the issue of Nigerians now. Certainly, this is something Nigerians wouldn't have seen at all, just like you established initially.
Yeah.
But we know that in some countries, for instance, even in South Africa, we see how we've been watching some of their plenary session at the National Assembly. We've listened to South Africans react when their president is accused of a certain corrupt tendencies and all of that. But in Nigeria, apart from the comments we make and then the buzz on social media, are Nigerians really ready to take this fight? Fighting could not physical fight, but are they really ready to take that fight to the next level?
No, because one is that for economic reasons. If we have a middle class, because middle class in every society is the staying power of that society. They're the ones that really grow the economy, and but unfortunately we don't have such a middle class. You see that few of you, Mike, that is 1% of you that are up there, and 99% of us that are there.
Don't put me in a car that doesn't have brick.
So you find that for economic reasons, they don't have it. They can't sustain such a lesson. Because these people are also the people that you come out, you say this, they won't give you patronage in whatever thing you're doing. I remember one of the programs that we used to do, and because they felt that it was anti-government policies and all that, companies, were not patronizing. And that program has been rested because people are afraid of what is going on. One, they don't have the economies, individual economies are too low to really stay.
To sustain.
Say, oh boy, hunger.
Do we even have the awareness?
No,
Does an average Nigerian, do we know that we can perhaps effect change the way Mike was talking about?
No, because one is that we don't even know our individual rights. We don't. We don't even know that we have a right to query. You know, we don't even have, you see, our political rights, our individual rights are being infringed upon, and we're not doing anything about it. Yeah, every day. How many of us know the Constitution? How many of us have opened, you know, over 99% of Nigerians, apart from the lawyers, you know, and they don't even have a copy of the Constitution. And you run around the street, you see them hawking the Nigerian Constitution, and nobody is buying it. They don't even know. Because what again is that in every democracy, you know, if the level of literacy is low, like it is in Nigeria, democracy cannot thrive. If poverty is high in a society, democracy cannot thrive.
Because people have to think of surviving.
Exactly. So these are the two major things that are impinging on our democracy. Because people are not literate enough. We don't have a critical mass of literate population at 45%. You can't even grow your economy with that kind of a level of literacy, okay? And with poverty all over the place, people are hungry. There's no way. And it's a deliberate thing that politicians use so that they're already thinking of 2019. When people say, oh, this situation going on, I said, there's money, but they're holding this money against 2019. I've been there, and I'm still going back there by the grace of God. Because I know that
Why?
Few days.
Why do you want to go back there?
I have to change. I'm part of this system. I'm part of the system. I'm one of those that God has, you know, proposed to change this system in Nigeria. So I can't give up until I get there. I'm hoping that I'll be the tragic hero that will go in through this wrong system and make the system right. So that right people...
Of course, they suspend you for 200 days.
You know, you see, I'm going to pave the way for...
he's still learning to do that, to be suspended. I think you will be suspended.
No, because I'll be one of those that will change the system so that good people like Mike, like your good self, will come into the system to help me build up the critical mass for Nigeria to be better.
It's all right. Now, let's listen to other members of the House of Reps, the reaction they had to this development in now.
The committee members were wearing and with Dogara. Ethics committee, some of their members, they are wearing that muffler yesterday. So how can there be justice? I've suggested that we have an external investigators to come in, find out the truth, and lay it up. That would have been the best. Or for Speaker himself to step aside and let's have a neutral body take over.
I feel that Nigerians are watching, so I believe that justice should be served and also should be seen to be served. Nigerians are eager to see what is happening. So I think that request for a public hearing, if it doesn't frown against our rule books, may also be considered, if that is going to bring justice to everybody.
All right, if you listen to these reactions, they don't seem to be categorical enough. They are all members of the same, they have the same rights, the same powers, apart from anybody being the speaker, or if you're a principal officer, you're just first amongst equal, as far as they say. But they don't seem to be categorical, even though they believe in what Jibrin is saying and talking about the sanctity of the system and all of that. Why is it like that?
Well, you see, because I like what this man, which you know is also in line with what we said earlier about getting an external investigator to look at this matter, because they cannot be impartial. Like when some of them are already putting on
exactly
a muffler, in support of the, and you know that they cannot do that if their pockets are not lined, you know, by the leadership of the House. You know, nothing goes for nothing. Okay, so it's quite unfortunate, and you can see some feeling of despondency. It's like they cannot do anything. You know, from what I saw the man, you know, from his body language.
From the body language, exactly.
You know, he's just there, like throwing his hand in the air and say, well, like the Americans will say, you can't fight City Hall. You know, it's like this leadership is like a city hall. It can't be right, and you know, so it's difficult because they don't have. There are few of them, like these two that spoke. You know, they are quietly in support of what is going on, but they can't come out. One, they are constrained by the fact that they are from the same political ruling party. Two, they are also constrained that they don't want to be seen as against the majority, okay? So that whatever little thing that is coming to them, you know, but again, for how long?
But this allegation cuts across the party dichotomy, really. For the first time,
Yes.
you didn't hear that this is this party, that is that party.
Yes.
They all came
Because
together.
members
like
of the other parties are also
It was
involved.
like a cahoot.
Yeah.
And they all came together with one voice, really.
Yeah, because if it had been that Jibrin is from the opposition, they could have said, no, you wouldn't see the light of it. You say, the opposition, they have come again and all that. This is your own person, the same political party and all that, the same platform, and exposing some of these things against members of this thing, you know. So, but I keep saying that, like the other member said that Nigerians are watching. They may think that Nigerians are not watching. We are watching, keenly watching what is going on in development. But at the appointed time, things will change. And what I want to assure Jibrin, that his effort is not in vain. He's actually trying to save our democracy. He's actually fighting for, you know, a change in the system, so that the masses can also, you know, some of these monies that they have within their own National Assembly can also trickle down to the masses. And that's what I keep saying about the democracy that we run in Nigeria. There's nowhere in the world for a developing nation that this kind of system has developed any nation. There's nowhere. You use this system when your economy is already developed, like in the UK, like in the US and all that, and use it to sustain your democracy, but not for a developing nation like Nigeria. We are not developed. And you find a system that your budget, your economy, the size of your economy cannot even sustain it. Okay? Yet the size of Nigeria's economy cannot sustain this, which is unfortunate. And we have this system, and I'm saying that let's crash this system, rebuild a system that is lean, in the sense that we don't need bicameral listen. We don't need a large 400 member, strong member, yes, member of a National Assembly. We only need 36 people to run the affairs of National Assembly, one from each state, you know, and we take it off from there, so that we can run that, so that even if these people can be, you know, part-time.
But there are arguments that Nigeria is too complex to have just one, especially when you divide Nigeria into two, you have the north and south. That's an issue. The region is another issue. When you break it into the geopolitical zones, the issue of ethnicity is another issue. If you go down to states, the issue of minorities is another issue. So the complexity of Nigeria.
Why is it when it comes to politics that Nigeria becomes complex? Super Eagles played yesterday. Nobody knew where
anybody came from.
Where I came from.
I agree on that.
So why is it that it's only politics? It can only be because one is this. We have to go back to the vision of our founding fathers on how they started out right, but selfish interests came in and they abandoned the vision and began to live the vision of other countries and all that. One is this. They tried to build a Nigeria that justice, equity, fairness, equality, will be the order of the day. Even in our foreign policy, all the countries that we have fought, South Africa, because of the thing that injustice, we want to build a nation where justice prevails. And that was why we fought in Liberia, we fought in other countries to bring justice to those people. So why is it that now we are being oppressed? A nation where nobody is oppressed. That was the vision of the founding fathers. Now we are being oppressed. And a nation where the brotherhood, there's no brotherhood. There's no love for one another. So these are the things, major things, software that is really, major thing that is supposed to keep us together. That is
the fabrics that hold us. Okay, let's bring in Foladele in here to give us a reaction of Nigerians on social media. Fola, it's good to see you again.
Hello again,
Good morning.
Salami. Good morning.
Morning.
Budget padding scandal, budget padding fallout, budget padding, whatever you want to
call it.
Budget padding, budget padding allegations, whatever you want to call it. Things have certainly gotten more and more dramatic over the last few weeks, and let's see what Nigerians are saying about this, or some Nigerians. First one from @Abubakar471 says, Brazilian president was recently removed for budget padding. In Nigeria, the whistleblower is suspended, nothing on the accused. Remember you were talking about the whistleblower earlier. At Mayo Speaks says, budget padding allegation by Jibrin has not received the attention one would have expected from a government desirous of fighting corruption.
That's right.
At Omojua says, the EFCC must prove its independence and seriousness by pursuing the budget padding allegations to the end. Busolami mentioned about the EFCC earlier, I remember. Wale Adetono says, after the padding, share the blame. I think
After the
padding, share the blame. Exactly. I was waiting for you to clock it. All right, next one from at Serufi says, Jibrin says no longer padding but budget fraud. This constant change of term is unbecoming. At Imo Umoren, who's saying, Jibrin calls out Dogara for budget padding and gets suspended. More proof that speaking the truth will get you crucified. Ask Jesus.
You didn't find it funny.
And the last one here from Babarik, he says, start with all the hard-hitting questions. How much did Jibrin gain from budget padding? Okay.
That's a big question.
It is.
Yeah, because the man is not even hiding
That's
that.
the
He
big
said that
question.
each one of them collected certain amount of money, including himself. He didn't separate himself that he did not collect. He did not even return his own. Okay? So if there's a call for them to return all their monies, I'm not even sure that they have the monies to return.
You mentioned earlier about how budget padding is not a new phenomenon. It's not something that started yesterday. Why do you think it's such a big deal this time?
No, because one is this. Since democracy, you have then also access to information. During the military era, who are you to ask Babangida how much he spent in his... well, because they controlled this thing. How did our own local government system come about? It's to soldiers that were retiring. He just retired, oh, General, I'm retiring, I need a local government, where I'll be for my retirement. And that's why you have so much local government, all over the place. Because you don't, but democracy has made it possible for us to know what is going on, okay? And then the FOI Bill Act also enables one to have access to some of this information. So it's just the timing. Democracy has also helped us, to do some of these things. And again, I just pray that this one will not kind of cause some kind of gagging of the press, kind of, so that people will not say their minds again. Because if Jibril survives this, they may be more careful on. I remember the Lai Mohammed saying that the social media, they should do something about the social media, because the social media is very powerful. Even if they hide this thing, there's always some fifth columnist within the system that will be able to leak information, and the social media, even if you don't want it in mainstream media, but the social media, you have no control. So the social media is also part of the reason why some of these things are playing out the way it's playing, because everybody is a reporter.
Exactly.
An opinion, yes.
They're all reporters.
Yes.
All right, Fola, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now in all of this, we have seen the political party that owns the accused and the accuser, as the case may be. At the time they came to try to intervene, but the problem still persisted. But at this time, at this level, what is the role of the political party in all of this? Because it has a way of rubbing off on the party too.
Yes. Now, what I expected the party leadership to do is to call Aminu what is his own interest, because politics is all about...
There was a meeting in Abuja, remember, when it all started. They called Jibril and
they were trying to resolve all of this at
I think the
the
party
time.
did. Well, what happened after the meeting?
No, because negotiation,
ballgame.
every negotiation, you have to have the interest of the parties. They have to be known, okay? And then you work around it and see where you can have a common ground, a compromise somewhere. Because they fail to have a common ground. Because it's about ego. Maybe Dogara is saying that, who is Jibril to query me, to question my this thing? Okay? So it's about ego. I don't think that the party has handled it very well. If they had handled it very well initially at that meeting, I don't think that they will not be able to arrive at the common ground. And they went ahead to suspend. It's the threat that is making Jibril to go further. The more they threaten him, and you cannot win by threats. This is a democracy. He has his freedom of speech, and he has a right to express, whatever is not right. Okay? So in that House of Rep, Many Nigerians are seeing Jibril as a hero. But a time will come where people will even carry placards in support of Jibril, because of the work he's doing. So that's why the party has not been able to handle it very well. It's like getting rid of this bad egg in our system so that we can move on without this. But this is wrong. So if they don't handle and call this man for another meeting and handle it, it will escalate, and the party will suffer for it.
All right, there are some arguments that some Nigerians have said that actually, if you see the substance of all of these accusations here and there, Jibril does not even have the moral justification because he was part of that system. He benefited, like you said, he benefited from this system. It was at the point where there was a disagreement as to how much money should go here or go there that they fell apart, and then he becomes an angel.
Yeah, because one is that, one is this, something always happens for someone to, yes, initially, if you ask me, if he did not, deep down in his heart, he may be against what's been going on in the National Assembly, until they've given him a reason to act. Now, there's the concept of tragic hero, which I mentioned earlier, that the concept of tragic hero is such that somebody comes in through the wrong system, which Jibril has done, and then he discovers the wrong things going on in the system, and then he finds himself an opportunity to find a way, even though a lone voice, to find other people, to join him to correct the ill. And that's the concept of the tragic hero, and which is good for democracy, which is good that we need even in top leadership, and which I expected even the president to do.
Yeah.
That's my own disappointment. He came in through this. I saw him as a tragic hero, but he has not done so. Right. I expected that coming through the wrong system, he should be able to correct and strengthen institutions so that right people like us can now be thrown up to continue the good work.
It's all right. Dr. Austin Weze, thank you very much for coming this morning. Thank you.
All right.
I do wish you well too.
Okay, then, thank you.
All right, in sports now, Nigeria got their World Cup qualifying campaign off to a winning start after they defeated host Zambia 2-1 in Ndola on Sunday.
Arsenal youngster Alex Iwobi put Nigeria in front from inside the box after poor defending by the home team.
And Nigeria scored. So, mistake there from Adrian Chamanda. Alex for Nigeria. Chance now for Nigeria. Mwena has been drawn out of his line opportunity and they scored. 2-0 Nigeria lead here. My words. And it is...
Manchester City starlets Kelechi Iheanacho then doubled the Eagles' advantage in the 42nd minute when he was released by Mikel. Now, Zambia pulled a goal back in the 70th minute through star striker Collins Mbesuma when he capitalized on a blunder inside the box by Kenneth Omero. The Super Eagles sealed all 3 points to move top of Group B after Algeria and Cameroon played a 1-1 draw in Blida. Now, TVC News Sports editor Promise Efoge just returned from Ndola and now joins us from Abuja. Promise, it's good to have you on right now. Give us an overview. How was the match? I know all Nigerians are really happy about this, but give us some of the edges the Super Eagles had on the pitch.
Thank you, Mike. I was with the team, proud to live in Nigeria, and when the team landed in Zambia, everyone was positive going into the game, knowing very well that having not qualified for the Nations Cup was a big snag as far as Nigerian football is concerned. Starting the World Cup qualifiers on the very bright note would serve as some redemption. The players knew that they knew what the task ahead was like, and that they were really predetermined to do so. Trust me, prior to the game, when we saw the lineup, we knew Gernot Rohr, the coach, was going for the killer. Playing away from home, usually you want to go defensive, but the formation really suggested that the Eagles were ready to attack their opponent. Playing a 4-2-3-1 formation, very unusual with the Super Eagles, but the coach ensured that he maximized the potentials of the players he had at his disposal. You know, playing two defensive midfielders in Mikel Obi and Ogenyi Onazi, you know, gave a statement of intent, okay, that the Eagles were going to defend and at the same time attack, having the likes of Alex Iwobi, Kelechi Iheanacho, and of course Moses Simon, who are fleet-footed players, going forward and having Brown Ideye play right in front of them. Yes, the Zambians showed some class in the early exchanges, you know. That's usual for the home team. They had a crowd behind them. You know, they tried to pull the Eagles under pressure. But when it mattered the most, the Eagles, yeah, so much experience, a blend of experience and youthfulness. When they got their chances, they took them.
Promise Ifoge, thank you very much for giving us updates there. Certainly, we'll get details of this and the way forward for the Super Eagles.
And the next match.
Yeah, in the next match.
Another win for the Super Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Promise. All right, this is where we come to the end of today's edition of the program. Certainly, tomorrow we'll come back again to dwell on other issues that affect Nigeria and all of us. I am Mike Okwache.
And I am Busola Mitumashi. Let's do this again tomorrow.